So yesterday I talked with Hurricane about the next Battlefront game that's coming out. Now we did touch a little bit on the different Star Wars games that are coming out, but today I want to sort of elaborate a little bit more on all of the other Star Wars games that's coming out over the next few years. So obviously we've got all the DLC out now for Battlefront, and there's not really much more that's going to be done with that, as we know. They may change a few things and put some updates in, but we don't think there's going to be too much more that they're going to do with the current Battlefront. And obviously, you know, next year we're going to have the next Battlefront. We're not quite sure what that's going to be about, but all we have is the information which we talked about in yesterday's video, which if you haven't seen, you should probably go and watch it. More games that we've got coming out in the new year anyway is an update to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which is a mobile game. Obviously I don't know too much about it. It's being developed by Capital Games, don't know much about them, but they're just going to add a few things like guilds, raids, and they're going to add a chat system, which obviously that's a bit ancient to not have chat, but they're adding that in, which is very cool, and that's going to add a lot more to do, and there's going to be loads of updates coming out during the year. And obviously we've got Old Republic is celebrating its 5th anniversary, which is very, very cool, and I've just got into Old Republic as well, and I'm really enjoying it. So next year, obviously next Battlefront is going to come out. There's DICE working alongside Motive Studios, and they're apparently making great progress. So, I mean, I don't know really what it's going to be, but we've already talked about it, like I said. Now, all we know is that Motive are growing very fast apparently, and that they're making great progress in building out a significant new addition to the game. Now what that new addition is, we don't know, and that's what's really irritating, and they said they're not ready to get into specifics. So that's the kind of the problem. They're just trying to hype it up a little bit and not giving us too many details. All we know is it's going to be based off of the new movies, and there's something that they've added that's very, very cool. And they're saying that we should all get excited, which, I mean, we kind of are. I kind of want to know what it is. I'm sure you all do as well. Now, that's all that's going to be coming out next year, but in 2018 there is going to be a new Star Wars story, like about, I don't really know, but it's being made by Visceral, and it's going to be an action-adventure game, like we said yesterday. Lucasfilms and Visceral are making this new game. Not quite sure what it's going to be, but it's going to be very story-focused. There's going to be a lot of lore, I guess. I'm not quite sure what is going to be in it, but we just know it's going to be a story game, action and adventure. Now, looking past that point, we don't know when this is going to come out. I'm assuming it's just going to be the following year. Respawn Entertainment, the guys that made Titanfall and Titanfall 2, they're making a third-person action-adventure game. And it's going to be set in a different timeline they've not touched on before. So that's not very specific either, but they're early in pre-production. So they're not making it yet, but they're designing it still. They're probably coming up with the story still at the moment. So it's very, very early stages, but we'll probably hear a bit more about that over the next sort of year maybe. Get a bit more info on what that's going to be, but I imagine it's going to be very, very cool, just like the others. Now, one more thing, this isn't what is on this page. This is like the future, on EA's website, the future of Star Wars. I'll leave a link to this in the description. Basically, they haven't mentioned the game that Dead Space Studios is making. Now, I don't know why, but what we do know is that there is Dead Space Studios is making something. Now, what we said yesterday is that hopefully, we doubt it will be done, but we're hoping that it will be something along the lines of a horror game, based off of the theory that, this is just what we would like to see it, based off of the theory that there is a abandoned Star Destroyer out there full of zombie stormtroopers, which would be very, very cool. And I think Dead Space Studios should be the guys to make it if they are going to make it. But again, we don't really know too much about that either. That might not be the case whatsoever, but this is just what we're theorising. That was just speculation there. But we would like to see something like that. But what we know is that Dead Space Studios is making a Star Wars game too, and that is all we know for the time being. But again, like I said, we might find some more information out in the next year, probably 2 years if it's going to be from later than 2018. I imagine maybe, end of next year, start of the year after, we'll hear more about these different games because they want to focus on the ones that are coming out in the next couple of years first. They want to hype up the newer ones, the more recent ones to come out than ones that are going to come out years down the line. But I am looking forward to that. If it's going to be something along those lines, then holy shit, I want it. But that is everything that we have regarding all of the different Star Wars games coming out in the next few years. We've focused mainly on Battlefront because that's the main core concept of our channel, but I wanted to talk about all the different Star Wars games because we want to sort of branch out a little bit. We don't want to just stick to Battlefront, we want to sort of expand out to different games within the universe, and this is sort of our way of doing it by giving you news on what's coming out. So that was it for today, and I'll see you in the next video.